Welcome to the Lonestar Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams, joined by co-host Austin Zamhariri. This week we're on at episode 21. Our guests, Daulton O'Neill and David Flores of Greenlight Events. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing, Daulton?
What's up, friends? Sounds like we already got some, Zoom difficulties on David's end. Rolling through North Dallas. Happy to be here, y'all.
It's been an interesting week. We were talking before about the weather. It was trying to sleet in Austin today.
Wow.
Which is, we're almost on the year anniversary of Dalaska up here, Jesse. I mean, I know Austin got snow. I saw y'all the snowboarding videos that went viral last February in Austin, but Dallas had a hell of a snowstorm.
Yes.
Dallas, Texas TV started calling it Dalaska, and I'd be down to run it back just with power this time.
Yes,
if we can keep power, let's run it back. It's cool, but
I think we all would. I think that's all we want is just keep we don't mind we're Texan, we can handle 115 degree heat for 8 days in a row. We can handle -1, -2 degree temperatures with snow and all that shit. Just keep that power on and we're good.
We're good.
Snowvid.
Gotta have those generators, man. You gotta have that generator.
I was calling it Snowvid this last year. Had to get an AC system replaced. And when the guy came out, he's like, "What'd you think of this storm?" I was like, "Oh, you mean Snowvid?"
Oh God.
Really was Snowvid for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's going on, guys? How are y'all?
Man,
Doing good, man. Doing good.
things are good. Just caught up with David before this, catching up. It's hard, you work with people and you hardly get to talk to them about how they're doing other than the business. It's like we get to the business, well, it's like, well, how are you doing, bro? It's things like that. So just so much has been happening in Austin. I know me and you talk offline, all these events coming up, industry's heating up. On the politics side of it, it's like people think it's an off season, but it's actually when the most stuff happens.
We're there.
There's a movement to decriminalize all across Texas. Looks like Austin's finally formally doing it, right? San Marcos, can you confirm that already happened? They voted, they didn't vote?
No, San Marcos is a ballot initiative that is being spearheaded by Mano Amiga, which is a local Hayes County nonprofit organization, immigrants' rights, and they're getting back channel help from. I think they're getting back channel help from Ground Game Texas, who is really doing a lot of these across the state. I know Harker Heights has now been a target that they're going for. I'm going to Killeen on Friday, where they're proposing a ballot initiative. It has not been well received publicly.
Oh, God.
So, man.
It's happening. It's happening. The overflow's coming here. People want their medicine. They see people like David in Oklahoma out there doing what they want to do, growing their own. It's mind-boggling here. I mean, Austin, I still can't believe we're in this point. People ask me, it's like, what's happening? And, just every other session, let's take another crack at it.
Yeah. To be honest with you, just yesterday, Governor Abbott went online and was talking about how he's like, oh, we shouldn't be arresting people for low-level marijuana possession. He's like, I've been trying to do stuff about that. But then he incorrectly said that things are a Class C misdemeanor, which they're not. It's still a Class B. No laws have changed.
We've heard that before, dude. It's primary season,
right? And low-key, to Governor Abbott's credit, he actually had done some things at the legislature to try to facilitate that kind of reform. However, things change when they get to the Senate, and that's where Dan Patrick rules. So the rest is history. So could Governor Abbott do more? 1,000%. Is he the actual worst guy? I don't think so. You could have the governor of North Dakota or South Dakota that
Idaho.
They voted for it, and she was like, "Nah, we're gonna erase it."
This is a big legislative session, though. There's a lot of stuff going on because last session, with COVID, they wouldn't really let people in there. And there's a lot, dude. You got China buying real estate all around our military installations. Like, you got blockchain people trying to move to Texas. They're trying to make Texas blockchain capital of the world. Like, we just want to get caught up with our medical cannabis policy. Like, there's other things that we can't even get a coherent medical strategy here.
Yeah, it's insane. I think we posted up the other day about how it's like somebody went in the dispensary in another state where it's legal, and they're like, "Please, sir, put a mask on." "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not used to that. We've got these things called freedoms down in Texas," and it's like, isn't marijuana a felony there?
It's crazy. We're like the most free state that's like almost free. Because I think it's a conservative issue, legalization of cannabis. I've always thought this. Austin, when I met you 3 years ago, I said this, like, this is a Republican issue. This is grow what you want to in your backyard, landowners, ranch owners, farm owners. This is agricultural commodity. But it's just a disconnect. That's why I'm thankful you're carrying the torch, and there's other people that have kind of stepped up, and we're definitely planning to be back at the Capitol. Popping our heads.
I'll never forget. So, in fact, and this is a memory that I share with all three of you. In fact, me and Jesse last session, day one of the legislative session, we were at the Capitol when it was on complete lockdown because they were scared that a Trump riot was going to happen. And, everything, it had happened. All of this had happened a week after January 6th. So they had literally a small military. I mean, we've talked about this on several different episodes, but they had a small military at the Capitol on opening day. And that was what me and Jesse got to experience. And plus, you had to get in with the COVID test and all that. It was crazy.
Oh my
so that's what me and Jesse experienced last year. In fact, in 2019, the three of us and a whole crew were at opening day. Do y'all remember that?
Did we have that after party? Did we have that after party at the German brew pub? Or
I don't know if that. I remember that night we stayed the night. We came in the night before, and we all pitched in for a Airbnb, and it was at some 2-story condo.
Nice.
And then we all went in the next day, saw everybody's legislators, had lunch right there on Congress Avenue, right outside of the Capitol, and then all drove back.
Well, it's always unique, because we got one March to go until the next session. It always happens like during South by Southwest. We've got to get our cannabis lobby day at the same time, kill 3 birds with 1 stone over here. Because I think that's when we did it. Wasn't it around March?
Well, I love it because you've been to the Capitol many times. You can't remember how you can't remember. You're merging several different stories.
My testimony is going to be a lot stronger and a lot better next time. Like
I will tell you this. One of my active goals is listen. There's a lot of conservative legislators who are likely going to be the mass majority of the legislature and control both houses of the Texas Congress. That's just the expectation, par for the course, right? So if we go par for the course, a lot of these guys are against legalization, right? And they're like, oh, I'm pro-medical. I want to end arrest, but I'm against legalization, like hardcore against it.
Right.
And so I think for us as a community, I think it's our strategy to at least get one of these bills, one of these cannabis legalization bills, quote unquote, or recreational, something like that. I'm not worried about it passing. It's not going to pass. I can already tell you right now. Get it into a committee hearing and let the public come out and testify, because then we get something on record, and then we have something as ammo that we can use that really will get the ball moving, and that maybe in 2025, then the state of Texas is ready to actually have that conversation.
My God, dude, 2025. I can't even imagine here. I said 2023 a long time ago. That was my guess. I was thinking 2021 maybe, but 2023 was kind of my fallback. But then again,
unless, like I said, unless the governor calls a special session, is like, we're going to take care of this issue right now.
I see David over there nodding no.
Why folks like him are just getting to Oklahoma. We get it. I mean, I've been on a stump saying, oh, Texas this, Texas that. It's like, dude, there's so much economic opportunity happening in Oklahoma. Like, I don't.
David, tell us about Oklahoma, like currently where you're at and what you're seeing on the ground in Oklahoma.
Well, first off, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's great to be here with you guys. It's been a while. But circling back to the Oklahoma front stuff, right now, Oklahoma is pretty crazy at this moment because they have no caps on licenses out there. And so that's a good thing, but it's also turned out to be a bad thing too, because what happened is you had a bunch of growers come in, basically about 2 times the amount of growers that there is in California. And there's only 3 million people in Oklahoma. There's 46 million in California. So for us to have double the growers in Oklahoma compared to California, there's just this huge influx of cannabis right now. It's kind of going back to where Oregon was several years back when the market was just so low that pounds in the legal market were going for like as low as $400 or $500 a pound.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's gotten to that point right now where that's what's going on.
Saturation, what you're saying.
Yeah. And so I'm actually kind of for limiting license right now because you have a lot of big grows going on out there. There's a lot of illegal grows going on. There's so many licenses and so many growers that OMMA doesn't have a regulatory committee big enough to be able to properly check everybody's facility within the times that were in the bill in regards to the process and the time length that they had to conduct these inspections. So, it's been awesome though. I've enjoyed it. It's been a huge learning experience. It's been very humbling. I first came out there to manage a dispensary, and I got to put a lot of my continued medical education to use that I had invested in myself prior to going out there. And so really being able to talk with patients, distinguishing the difference between, real patient users, people who really needed it and were trying to find something that worked for them versus, the normal consumer that comes from the counterculture and kind of really already knows what they want, what they're looking for, and they're not looking for any guidance. But, I spent a lot of time doing education there with patients and helping them understand the plant as a whole and not just THC and CBD. And then I had the opportunity to get into my own grow with a couple of friends and some partners. That right there was a pretty rough learning experience. I know things didn't go down as I would hoped for, but in the end, there was a lot of good learning lessons from it all, and I've taken that, and I've continued to push forward. One of the biggest things that hit us this year when we were growing in Oklahoma is we kind of went late into the season, and we experienced a lot of humidity. And since we were growing in greenhouses and we didn't have dehumidification, we had some really good greenhouse bud that looked like pretty much like indoor weed. And within a matter of just a couple of weeks of dealing with high humidity, I've lost literally over half my crop.
No.
With just with mold. So, it was a big learning experience, and I'm taking that moving forward. And I've been doing wholesale right now for a couple of other growers and stuff in the space right now. So, it's been a journey for sure. I have my story. it's been fun nonetheless, and I'm thankful to be here, and I'm glad to be a leader in the space and just impart knowledge with other people out there in the space, because there's a lot of people in Oklahoma that really don't know how to operate, what they're doing, and I can tell just based by conversations that I'm having, and I'm really actually helping a lot of people out at the same time. So Oklahoma's a good opportunity for now. Circling back to the Texas thing and legalization, I don't see Texas turning full legal until after Oklahoma has gone legal and Texas starts to see the numbers. It's all about the numbers, in my opinion. It's all about the numbers and the revenue flow. And when Oklahoma opens up and you give them a year, then sure enough, it's going to switch, and Texas is going to open up themselves because they're going to want that revenue.
Red River stuff.
Well, we're going to go into our first sponsor break here at the Lonestar Collective Podcast. This is episode 21. Our guest, David Flores and Daulton O'Neill of Greenlight Events. We will be right back after this sponsor break. Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and Lonestar Collective Podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com. You know it would be cool if your business was mentioned on a podcast several times an episode. Well, you could have a slot right here on the Lonestar Collective, just like the one I'm doing right now. Show your community that your business supports changes to social welfare regarding cannabis in Texas. Inform our audience that you are a supporter of independent journalism and the activism work we put in while informing them about your business. Let your customers know where you are located and what you offer the community. For more information on getting your business mentioned on Lonestar Collective, visit texascanaco.com. That's TXCanaco.com and click the Contact tab.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Austin Sam Hariri.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. This is episode 21. I'm joined by co-host Austin Sam Hariri. We have guest Greenlight Events, which is David Flores and Daulton O'Neill with us this week. Glad to have you guys here to join us for our discussions. I'm
happy to be here.
I wanted to touch on the back end of what David was saying at the last segment about Texas not going legal until after Oklahoma. And I fully can agree with that, because Oklahoma already, they have the ballot initiative system, right? And they've already proven with 788, which was the bill it was the ballot that was voted on by Oklahoma back in 2018, that is now the current, or, was the current medical marijuana program. So I would agree that once Oklahoma goes fully legal, then yes, Texas has something to look at. We have actually a greater look at that come April 1st when New Mexico legalizes, and we will be on site in a New Mexico and I'm saying it right now, we're going to be on site in a New Mexico dispensary on April 1st to witness some of the first legalization sales, and we're going to show everybody in the world how many Texas plates are in New Mexico for legalization, and how
That's a great idea.
how much money is coming in. I don't care if it's from El Paso, which is where a lot of them are coming from, Lubbock, Amarillo, everywhere in the Panhandle. This includes Clovis, Hobbs, New Mexico, Clayton, New Mexico, which is you have to go through Clayton to get to Colorado from the Panhandle. So anybody that's ever driven from Texas to Colorado, you're usually going through the Panhandle, and Clayton is that far northern part of New Mexico. So yeah, we're going to see how Texas is able to handle that. And I will reiterate something that I said at the legislature back in last year in 2021, that the minute you take I-10 and I-40 west out of Texas, it's full legal marijuana all the way to the coast. All right. You're going through, I-40 and I-10 all the way through New Mexico, Arizona, and California, and parts of Nevada as well. So what are we doing?
Hey, one thing I want to mention though too, especially all those states that you just mentioned, and along with Oklahoma, before they moved into their adult use programs, they had good medical programs in place, and that's the other key thing for Texas. I think is going to be very crucial trying to move forward with adult use in Texas too, as well. As you're going to want the medical program that best suits everybody's needs in the state, before moving into that program, because that's where Oklahoma is right now. They were 2 years in, and they already had that initiative being introduced for adult use, but they just didn't pass it yet because the medical program was still getting everything worked out. There's still things being worked out here in the medical program in Oklahoma as we speak, but they've got the program down good enough, to where it makes sense for them to really start looking at an adult use bill. So I know right now they've got two bills on the ballot right now coming up this session, and I was on the Oklahoman. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that yet. Did y'all see that?
It's a couple different questions. I know one is about a tier-based licensing structure. Am I correct?
Well, we already have a tier-based licensing structure, so everything's all broken up. You don't have to be vertically integrated here in the state of Oklahoma.
Okay. Maybe I'm reading something different. Yeah, I know there's a couple different pieces of legislation that are being passed around in Oklahoma. And it's real interesting because the consideration is that if you give Oklahoma, other places in the country access to the Oklahoma market, specifically North Texas, if you give North Texans access to the Oklahoma medical marijuana market through whatever loophole and or legislation that you pass, that's like 7 million people, 8 million people that now have access in a place that's less than an hour away in most areas of the Metroplex. So, and that's, it is what it is. I can tell you from my experience, Sherman, Texas and Durant, Texas, they're the fucking same place, same exact place. Gainesville, Texas, Thackerville, Texas, where Windstar is, or Thackerville, Oklahoma, where Windstar is, same exact place. Lawton, Wichita Falls, same place, so it's just this imaginary line of marijuana prohibition that exists in Texas. And I'm glad you guys are here to help us fight the fight.
How would you describe the quality for the medical program up in Oklahoma, David? Because we had Zach Vance, or was it Lance? He's a lieutenant governor candidate that came on the show and was talking about apparently the places where they had these great robust medical programs. Then when they went full adult, it degraded the quality of it. And I'm wondering how abundant it is in Oklahoma, what the quality is looking like.
So, the quality is there, but because you have so many producers right now in the space, and there's more inexperienced people cultivating than there is experience. And I know a lot of the experienced growers across the space in Oklahoma. They're doing it to scale accordingly. And the people that aren't doing it correctly are the ones who are just coming in and just doing these big grows. And that's what's kind of like lowering the quality, as some people might say Oklahoma has, and it's not really necessarily true. It's just kind of really dependent on where, knowing the farms and the sources from which this cannabis is coming from. So going into adult use, I think what will happen is initially, probably in the beginning, Oklahoma's probably going to get a bad rap because you're going to have a lot of these commercial growers just trying to move a lot of the stuff that just really isn't that really great of quality. But there's a lot of quality going around. I'm working with several growers right now. Shout out to Gas Giant in Oklahoma, out there in Davis. My man Marcus. I've been working with him. These guys have some great genetics that they're working indoor, and the demand is out here for sure for good quality cannabis, and it's here. You just got to go to the right dispensaries and know, because there's an influx of dispensaries, and a lot of them don't know the right quality to be carrying because they're just trying to get the cheapest stuff to move it out.
Might as well be hemp.
Do what now?
I said it might as well be hemp up there. Some of these Oklahoma people,
Well, yeah. Well, it's just again, because it's a new state and it's really Wild West out there. So it really is. To me, it reminds me of California '96 all over again. And people are able to grow their own here too as well. So.
And metric, they're not using metric still, right, or no?
No, there's actually a suit pending right now between the state and metric, because they were trying to the state felt like they were trying to monopolize everybody into using metric instead of using these other third-party systems that actually integrated with metric as well. So
good. Decentralize that shit. Let them know.
Yeah, so there's no metric currently, but that doesn't mean that it won't eventually happen.
Okay.
What's the testing standard out there like? Is it is there a lot of product out there still that's not like being tested and evaluated properly, or is there like a standardization that's emerging in Oklahoma at all?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because you see the shirt that I got on right here. That's Steep Hill Testing Labs. That's one of the companies that are out there in Oklahoma right now. That they're a national testing lab company, and so they have accreditations and the consistency of standardization that you're talking about. And there's several other ones out here in Oklahoma too that have those protocols in place. But then there's a lot of them who maybe, man, I hate to say this, but I think they're passing a lot of people out here also, because if we had a lot of failures, then a lot of people wouldn't be coming back and doing business, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that the growers know what's going on, because that could be the analytical testing companies coming in and manipulating that. But when you deal with more reputable companies that have a little bit more long-standing history, and they're able to explain that they have their ISO and SOPs, and they're
it's not popular, David. It's not popular to be mentioned ISO and CGMP around here. Sometimes you learn certain things about certain brands and retailers pretty fast, and I've kind of had to had to take a step back. I mean, I remember David and I, this is like 2018. We're researching bills. We think everybody's kind of out to get Texas. It's weird. I remember all this. And David's showing me all this research. Man, CGMP, we need these ISO metrics. And we're bringing these things to certain brands that are trying to, quote unquote, help lobby in Texas. And it's like, we think we're doing a good service by saying, hey, we want the best quality. And there's certain brands that are like, yeah, nice, but like, no, you know. But I mean, I get it. There's certain friends, you know, that I've got that aren't operating in a CGMP facility right now that are doing the best they can. They're operating a great project. They've taken over old infrastructure, you know. So again, if you're building a facility from the ground up, go for it. But man, if you know the investment's not there, we got to sometimes use what we got. So we want clean products, but also being realistic here.
Well, we're going to go into our second break here at the Lone Star Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams, joined by co-host Austin Zamhariri. This is episode 21, joined by guests Daulton O'Neill and David Flores of Greenlight Events. We will be right back after this sponsor break.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and Lone Star Collective podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
You know it would be cool if your business was mentioned on a podcast several times an episode. Well, you could have a slot right here on the Lone Star Collective, just like the one I'm doing right now. Show your community that your business supports changes to social welfare regarding cannabis in Texas. Inform our audience that you are a supporter of independent journalism and the activism work we put in, while informing them about your business. Let your customers know where you are located and what you offer the community. For more information on getting your business mentioned on Lone Star Collective, visit texascanaco.com. That's TXCanaco.com and click the Contact tab.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective podcast, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Austin Zamhariri.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. We are on episode 21 of co-host Austin Zamhariri, our guest, Greenlight Events, Daulton O'Neill and David Flores. We were just talking about the market in Oklahoma and comparing to what's going on in Texas, and if what we could possibly see when adult happens in Oklahoma, full-on adult program. We talked about ISO standards. Daulton brought that up. I think Daulton has a lot on his mind with that.
You know, I'm not calling anybody out.
I was just referring specifically more to the testing standards right now, as far as like analytical testing labs. That way you have consistency in testing from state to state. Facilities is a different thing. You know, I don't think those things should necessarily be a requirement, but if you're moving towards a business model that's dealing with something that is going to be dealing with, say, global distribution, then yeah, you definitely want to have those type of things in place. If you're going to be shipping products across seas and to Europe and things like that, that's why you have to have those things in place. So I think that's kind of what Daulton means, you know, when we're talking about growers. You know, craft growers, that's a different story. You know, the smaller scale growers, you know, these other smaller extraction facilities, I don't think it's really necessary, because come that time, you know, there's going to be a huge consolidation. So a lot of people are going to be looking to sell off anyway. So
I mean, if you're looking for pharmaceutical grade, though, it's kind of one of those things. We're in this weird spot where some of these CBD store owners I talk to still think they're going to become a dispensary. And I'm like, okay, there's 2 different licenses for this, and it's like,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen like that. I will say I'm seeing dispensaries with high foot traffic. I could see, let's just, I need to smoke for this conversation, so it'd make a lot more sense. I'll probably do it right after. But you can imagine a world where licensing gets opened up in Texas. Let's say there's a shit ton of license out there. And if you're a multi-state operator, publicly traded cannabis company, and you're moving into Texas, you're looking to blanket the state with as many dispensaries as you can, it might make sense to go buy out some of these dispensaries that have high foot traffic and are known for that type of thing. So, it's not always the safest exit plan, but again, you're selling your business to another business and transfer, like you're not getting ownership of that license. You're just selling out your CBD business. So, I'm trying to consult the people that I talk to the best I can. We can't save them all. But I've just completely stopped answering to idiots like on, Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, even the people that come at nicely. I'm just like, look, if you're not at this level of understanding how the laws work and the licenses work, you really need to go spend money with an attorney. Before we used to just say, go talk to an attorney because we meant well. Hey, go learn, get educated. But they really got to go get a grasp and because they won't believe us. We're like, it's like your older or younger brother you don't listen to, or older younger sister. You don't, why would this random guy understand the licensing and what's going on? Well, dude, you ran into the right one here. And we do know what's going on. And it's just kind of exhausting, people that just don't fully get it. But it's also exhausting to have a state that's confused. Is smokable hemp legal? Is Delta 8 legal? I posted something.
Depends on the week, bro.
And it's like, I'm getting seasickness from this. And, it's annoying.
Listen,
because,
I'm gonna the one thing that I'm like finding that I think is the craziest right now as far as competition is concerned here in Texas, whether you're teacup approved or whether you're part of the hemp program, whatnot, but D9 is everywhere, bro. Like if you haven't noticed, D9 is everywhere, and it follows the same rules as 1%, but at 0.3%. And dude, 10 milligram D9 is everywhere through every dispensary in North Texas right now. There's not and D8 is still out there too. D8, and then you're seeing D10 and THCO and derivatives THCA, and it's getting crazy with how these chemists are being able to manipulate the numbers and make them work.
Also, there's no enforcement. I'm not asking for more.
Yeah.
Let's just call a spade a spade. Like,
exactly.
I've got hemp farmers that have never been visited by anybody, that don't know what the rules are. Like,
right.
Hey, whatever, that's cool. Like, why? Yeah, you go, Austin.
I was gonna say to kind of follow up to your point, right? Exactly, right there. These products, 0.3% THC Delta 9, are legal under the hemp law. They are legal. And they are legal for them to distribute. However, the minute they come out of that package and you do not have that package with you, and a police officer catches you with that exact gummy, the moment they find that, it is an automatic felony.
Wild.
All right, if they catch you, right? So we are in this gray area where you have hemp products with Delta 9 THC that are 100% absolutely legal to sell. But then it's on the consumer side for people to use responsibly enough, which that's not going to happen. Of course it's not going to happen. These people haven't been educated enough to their education comes from, Dragon's Breath or whatever, shop that they're going into. So you people are getting caught in this gray area and catching felonies for legal hemp products, legal D9, D8 hemp products.
Hey, let's be real. Are we really surprised the United States government is not, with the times? Like, the joke is they're still using floppy disks to back up data here, So it's like they don't get it. The cool thing about American entrepreneurship and capitalism is we do have innovators and business owners that will outfox this government. And it's not about outfoxing, but we will create loopholes. We will establish legal pathways to do. And it's not that we're trying to break the law. It's that this is what we do as American capitalists and entrepreneurs. The government sets the rules, and the business owners do the absolute best they can to, finesse in legal ways to get their products and services to market. And again, I'm not saying I'm endorsing that. Like, I'm not a fan of the gray area. I like it to be really more black and white, because you're dealing with, patients. I mean, I get texted every day about, hey, where, right now, I got a family member that's, sick, and one of their family's sick. Hey, where should I get edibles? They're nowhere near me. They're like out in West Texas. Like, I can't go, give them some medicine. It's like, well, go to this CBD store. Well, how do we know what they use? How do we know? So we're trying, this isn't, again, it's like the consumer thing we've talked about, David. This isn't like a Coke and Pepsi where you know what you're going to get. Just because the label says cookies here doesn't mean it's cookies there. And when you have somebody sick that needs pharmaceutical grade cannabis for medicinal purposes, it's just, you feel some type of way, because this isn't some adult use stuff. This is somebody that's going through chemo. This is somebody that is having appetite problems and that's fighting cancer, and you want to give them superior products. And, I don't really have an end note to that. It's just frustrating because we're playing this legal hemp game. At least the medical program's opening up.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating
we do
because
have a medical program here. I will say that, especially with the dry weight and the gummies and things, there is legal ways to get it going. My bad, Jesse. But we do. People say we don't have a medical program. Like, we do. It's just pretty shitty.
It's frustrating because, like, I went to the committee hearing in the House on the hemp bill and gave like 2 or 3 simple ways. It's like, these are ways we could actually work on this that aren't knee-jerk reactions to things like Delta 8 on the market. And like we mentioned about like having some lab standards. It's like, let's put down some lab standards of what labs should look like. We need to have something that the consumer can look at and go, we know this. And they're like, nope, we don't want that. And it's like, well, then why are you complaining about the variance and quality of product? Or let's start auditing some labs here and there to make sure we don't have people who are just falsifying reports.
I mean, one in particular in Austin I could think about. And, it's crazy. I remember in that one hearing, they said, well, the industry needs to regulate itself better. Like, why would y'all even throw out rules if it's our job to self-regulation? Like, I didn't realize this was like Big Brother where we get to vote.
It wasn't our job. It wasn't our job. It was literally in the last bill that they were going to do this, and they didn't do this.
Like, what are they going to do? Appoint the traffic cop of the Texas cannabis industry? Like, what are we doing?
Low-key, they don't have any money allocated to the hemp industry at all. Jesse and I were privy to this. Like, they do not have any money for DSHS to handle the hemp industry. DPS isn't really like, it's not their major concern. Their major concern is teacup. So like, it's everything's fucking gray area right now because there's no money invested in it.
Well, I'm kind of one of those annoying person. I'm bitching how there's no regulation and people are breaking rules, specifically one lab in Austin. But then, hey, I'm not asking for my taxes to go up for more hemp regulation. Like, fuck all that. So
you want proper regulation.
I want proper regulation.
You just want proper regulation in place to make sure the consumer is getting the right thing, and that we can actually punish people who don't do the right thing.
Right.
Like, and I don't get it. Like, and I hate to use alcohol as the example, but like, how many lessons do we need to learn about trying to prohibit alcohol and how to regulate alcohol and all of those things? How many lessons do we have to learn about that before we can kind of understand that you kind of treat, cannabis in some kind of manner like that? I don't want to say exactly like alcohol, because obviously alcohol can kill you. If you drink enough alcohol, it can kill you. Cannabis has never killed anybody, first of all. Second of all, you have to be careful with some of the psychoactive effects that happen when people do consume it, all right? And there's an education aspect that comes along with that. But for the most part, we need to we got to figure out some way to regulate this in a similar fashion, as opposed to kind of regulating it, which not really, and also heavily still criminalizing.
Support local business. Go text them, like, we're not going to buy weed from people that are, the whole Juul thing where they're marketing it strawberry to kids and shit. Like, we're not doing that. When you see, there are certain brands that do that, and they're not local. They're not people That's really all I got to say is they're not people you see at the shows. They're not people you see in the community. They're usually have like a foreign corporation, if you really look into it, that are just, obliterating our streets with all of their smokable products, which again, hey, that's what our market's here for. But we got to get better marketing. We got to, I mean, this is medicine for folks. I saw one of the panels that is at the A&M conference event, March 5th. And it's about, parental rights and stuff. I got kind of a sneak peek, and that's so big. You had the Zartlers and Americans for Safe Access, Texans for Safe Access on that CNN special. You've got all these little parental, that's a big thing. Parents need to know they're going to be taken care of if they go get a teacup license. There's just so much. It's just hilarious. I got to take a shot at it. We saw Get Your Booster campaign during the College Football National Championship last night, but we can't get hey, Texas cannabis is legal funding through the marketing budget through DPS. We can't put a PSA that, hey, this is legal, because people don't even get that we have a medical program here. And that more people, I just don't get it. When is it okay to market government programs and when is it not? And it's just, we're in some real weird times and we're society stakeholders here. And as an event producer and somebody that's just been hanging around, I kind of just bounce around different industry, different companies, different brands, and support only companies and initiatives I believe in. We still have time to get this right. But I'm not very actually hopeful how it's going to shake out for us. And I used to be so hopeful, and delusional optimism is what somebody could call it. My sister calls it toxic positivity, and I've got a little bit of that, but this next session's huge. And, I don't have the answers for exactly what policy points we have to do, but I know they're big ones. And, I hope the lobby teams are in place and ready. And also psilocybin here. It's cool that the psilocybin passes for the veterans. There's a psilocybin with veterans. The cannabis community quiet about it. I mean, they're going to have legal psilocybin before we have legal cannabis in Texas if we don't get it together, which would be funny. I'm probably using hyperbole there, but it is what it is.
Real quick, so I know we're about to cut it, but are you guys down for one more small segment? Because I want to talk about green light events and events coming up.
Hey, it's always a green light event, Austin. Even when it's not ours, we pull up and say it is. So let's do it.
Yes, are you okay with that?
Yeah, so we will go into our next sponsor break, and we will be right back to talk about Greenlight events here on the Lone Star Collective Podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. We will be right back.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and Lone Star Collective Podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
You know it would be cool if your business was mentioned on a podcast several times an episode. Well, you could have a slot right here on the Lone Star Collective, just like the one I'm doing right now. Show your community that your business supports changes to social welfare regarding cannabis in Texas. Inform our audience that you are a supporter of independent journalism and the activism work we put in while informing them about your business. Let your customers know where you are located and what you offer the community. For more information on getting your business mentioned on Lone Star Collective, visit texascanaco.com. That's TXCanaco.com and click the Contact tab.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective Podcast, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Austin Sam Hariri.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective Podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Jesse Williams, joined by co-host Austin Sam Hariri. This is the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective. and we are joined by Greenlight Events, David Flores and Daulton O'Neill. Let's get talking about Greenlight Events. What is Greenlight Events, Daulton? Or David?
Oh, what's one of those? I still heard the music. It was nice. The event situation is it's always ongoing. The events. I was still dancing with the music in my head.
He's had a rocking set. You A+ for the rocking set that you put together for Greenlight. I appreciate it.
Rocking set, and I had to smoke my hemp here to get Greenlight going here. And Greenlight, it might be a good time to say a 15-second story about Greenlight. Greenlight started as a meetup group. Our first meetup was July of 2018. So when people think, what is Greenlight? This was a meetup group that turned into an events company, partnering with David Flores, my co-founder over here, with the audiovisual side. So Greenlight's always just been a service provider looking to serve the community when the community's ready. We started this early. In order to have an events company, you have to have a lot of clients that have enough money to spend to throw real events. We knew the market wasn't there. We're not trying to gouge our friends for always sponsorship cash. So Greenlight's kind of been setting idly a little bit. We would joke, David and I used to joke, we're going to put Greenlight in the garage for a little bit. We're going to bring it back out. We're going to put Greenlight back in the garage, bring it back out, because you can't just throw event after event after event. You see the same people. It's an echo chamber, whatever you say, where you all see the same people, and you got to reach new audiences. And really what Greenlight's goal with COVID and everything is start tapping into these other events that are already happening. Always cannabis. So like the Texas Cannabis Conference with Heather, that's a natural fit for us to work and try to produce an after party with that. It's like A&M, that's a fit for us. And obviously we have some other events, like South by Southwest and stuff in the works, but it's really more so a vehicle for other people. We've learned the ins and outs of cannabis events in Texas. So, we're not aggressively looking for clients, but before you go throw your first event, we're happy just to get on the call and talk about what you want to do and what your objectives are. Because if we could save you some time and some pain and some headaches along the way, we're happy to do that because it betters the industry. It uplifts the conversations. It really uplifts the whole situation. But, if your objectives don't align with ours, then it's a good idea not to try to hire us. Because we're not really, Greenlight Events is, David, what'd you used to say? This isn't the start, it's the finish. This is just something we do. What'd you say, David? Tap in, because you always have good perspective on what Greenlight's about.
Oh, man. We're just here we're a bridge, basically, for a lot of people in the space. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I know that we've brought to the table for a lot of people in the events that we've thrown. We brought in different people who didn't know anything about the space at all, or just interested, and put those people in contact with other lawyers and other producers and brands and things like that in the space. So, I think it's been a really good, valuable networking tool, in my opinion. I think as we continue to move forward past this pandemic stuff, we'll probably be able to get back into things a little bit more personable, because that's kind of what was really good about Greenlight Events, is that you're really able to have those conversations with people that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily have those conversations with unless you had a neutral setting like that set up for everybody to be there. So we're working back there.
The real metaverse. I will say something I've gotten a little bit better at. We didn't really even understand what was happening, David. I remember we took so much advice from so many people after those first couple meetups, because it was psycho. I mean, we literally went from 30 people to 80 people to like 120 people in 3 or 4 months. And it was like, people were running up to us, how do you do gummies? How do you do this? What's the law? We're just laughing and saying we have no idea. Obviously, we scale it back, build a community. Once people realized they couldn't get high there, I think they were pretty bored. Because honestly, I mean, Greenlight events, I have fun at them. It's fun. Historically, pretty boring. You should come there to learn and meet people. The happy hours.
You guys, you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Oh my God.
really, you guys did some incredible stuff. I'm talking at Tacos and Tequila. I'm talking at the coffee shop. I'm talking, a lot of the events that you guys put together in North Dallas.
Oh my God.
And some of the things that I was privy to, like, you guys can talk a humble game, but like, you guys aren't where you are without putting in that sweat equity and that street cred and like doing things that people weren't doing back in 2018. I hate to say it because I felt like in 2018, 2019, we were pretty advanced and progressive on this issue.
Yeah, we were, but a lot of people fell off. And that's something I'll touch on. You keep going. It's like,
COVID happened in between all of that, which changed a lot of things, a lot of trajectories for people. But man, you guys did so much ground game stuff that like was legit for the community. And like, I'll tell you both, like, I'll tell everybody that's listening, I got two stories. One is I met David in downtown Fort Worth in the Fort Worth Stockyards for a cannabis open carry event that was supposed to happen at the Stockyards. And that's where I met David Flores. It was kind of a unique situation. I was there to just kind of scope out the scene. And I think David was too. And we both greeted, and the rest is history. Daulton, I met you because you had been following the collective for quite some time, and I saw your name everywhere over here. Yeah, everywhere. And then I met you at a town hall, a cannabis town hall in South Lake, Texas. Which, if y'all don't know where South Lake, Texas is the most like affluent area of DFW. So in South Lake, Texas, I met him it was a Democrat, believe it or not. So, this is where I met these two guys, was at people who were getting involved, wanted answers, had questions. And I had been doing this since 2015, 2016. And so hooking up with you guys, I've always been in the streets. You guys are like the creme de la creme of what the history of what this industry that is emerging in Texas has to offer.
Thanks, man. Thanks for saying that.
Austin, man, wish I could hug you here. I'm thankful. Honestly, Austin, I didn't know better. All I learned how to do was throw events. It's funny because I told that story. My mom would let us throw parties sometimes. What terminally sick person don't want to go throw parties here? And it just translates. In college, I love throwing parties. It made plenty of sense. And so like to transition after corporate work and like, just corporate America stuff, to think, well, let's keep throwing parties. It was like instinctual, I think, to try to start bringing people together. And David was just the fit, because David, from a technical standpoint, can do any audio visual setup. Like Greenlight really isn't just a cannabis meetup group. That's the face of it. But Greenlight could close any deal. You got a real estate conference that needs audio visual. You need sound. Call me. We got the sound ready to go. And that's what David's taught me. That was one of my first lessons about entrepreneurship too, is you can sell somebody else's service. So Greenlight, we were forced to start the LLC. We were like, well, we need to put $100 down. That's when Dave and I realized, like, oh shit, like, oh, okay, we're going to have to start an LLC.
You can't have anybody else tell you what to do to be able to be successful in a space that is the wild, wild west. Like, we are the pioneers. You guys are the pioneers of entrepreneurial spirit in the cannabis space in Texas. And so that's,
so there's a quote, I got to interrupt you. There's a quote here about, if we get to be giants, you're standing on the shoulders of other people. And I think it's other men, but it's the music's got me a type,
that was quick.
You got to help people, along the way, Austin. We appreciate you. And Dave, we're going to see you soon, bro.
Love you guys.
Appreciate you, man.
So y'all plug y'all's website. Where can people find you online?
Online, yeah, greenlighteventco.com. That's pretty solid. It's kind of, just co.com.
Greenlightevents.com?
Yeah, greenlighteventco.com. Yes, sir.
Greenlightevents.co.com. Got it.
Oh, yeah. Texas Cannabis TV on Instagram.
Texas Cannabis TV on Instagram. Anything you want to add, David?
Do what? I'm sorry?
Anything you would like to add?
Oh, man, just thanks again for having us on, man. And hopefully people found some kind of value in our conversation today.
Love it.
We thank y'all for joining us here on episode 21 of the Lonestar Collective podcast, the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective. That's going to wrap it up. I'm Jesse Williams, the host, joined by co-host Austin Zamhariri. Our guest this week was Daulton O'Neill and David Flores of Greenlight Events. We want to bid you guys a great evening and farewell, and good luck to everybody.
See you soon, Austin. Easy, brother.
Adios.